Continuing my story now, I am on Coachella Via in San Diego County, backcountry. Um, as the as the crow flies, only a, like 3 miles, I think, from the Mexican border. We actually used to see we used to call them wetbacks. I used to ask, why do they call them wetbacks? They said because when they sleep on the ground, their back gets wet. I don't know, but illegal aliens. We used to just look out our front window and see them coming down the hill, the mountain, coming over the mountain. Um, that would happen periodically. Usually there was several together. The most we ever saw together was maybe 6 or 8 coming over. And they would come down and they would come down to the dirt road. I told you about all our fruit trees. We had the pomegranate tree right there by the road. Also, right across the road on Ethelyn's property was the olive tree. They couldn't eat the olives, they ate the pomegranates, but I'm just mentioning that there was an olive tree there, and I used to even cure olives sometimes. They would just drop, those black olives, they would just drop all over. That was pretty cool. And so the illegal aliens would come by, and once in a while they would come up to my house. They were very polite, and they would come up because there was stairs going up to my house, about maybe 8 or 10 steps going up. There was actually downstairs. There was a little studio apartment downstairs. So they would come up and knock on the door, and then they would run back down the stairs and wait at the bottom of the steps. And I would give them food if, I didn't have a whole lot to give them, but, I'd give them like a carrot, I'd give them water, a piece of bread, whatever I could, an apple maybe or something. And they were always thankful, whatever I gave them. One time I felt really bad because one guy came and did that, knocked on my door, ran back down the stairs. I came out, opened the door, and he said, "Is this LA?" I felt so bad for him because it was another 350 miles to LA. And he thought he had already got there, where he had probably been traveling a long time. So some of the neighbors, the people around there, would help them. Some of them would shelter them. Some of them would give them work. I know I had one friend that even had a pregnant lady come and stay in her barn for a while. I had a lot of sympathy for them. And my next door neighbor, though, Frank, who I told you about, old guy, lived next door. He was a retired naval officer. He was like 80 years old. He did not like them, and he would call Border Patrol every time they came around. Every time he saw them, he would call Border Patrol right away. So anyway, that was my whole experiences with them. I never had a bad experience with them. I did hear, actually later, years later, because I lived there for 8 years. So it was probably close to 8 years later that one of my boys, their bike got stolen, and I heard that somebody said that an illegal stole it. I don't know. It's very possible, but I did have a heart for them. I mean, it's not the same as what's going on, what has been going on the last couple of years with these mass migrations. I feel like they need to fix their own country instead of everybody coming here. Those countries are so, they're just run by the drug lords, and the people need to they need to get it together. They need to step up to the plate and do what it takes to clean up their country. I do believe in political asylum, and I do believe in that, there are laws in place. Some people, a lot of people who are against immigration don't understand the difference between immigrants and those that come as refugees. Political asylum versus just looking for a better life. There are differences there, and we do have laws in place regarding how many immigrants are allowed to come in and how every year and all that. And I think that we should just stick to the laws that we have in place, and our government should do whatever they can to help these little third world countries, get on a foothold in control and knock out those drug lords and the corrupt governments and all that. But it's all related to drugs, and other dark stuff like prostitution, kidnapping, all of those things. It's all related. So in our downstairs little studio apartment, when we moved in, there was a lady living down there, and her name was Fern, and she had white hair, but otherwise she looked pretty young. So I'm guessing she was prematurely gray, maybe in her late 40s, early 50s, something like that. And she was blind, poor thing. She had some kind of disease that she became blind, as an adult. Very sad. And she was living down there in the studio apartment, and Lauren would go down and visit with her a lot, and she loved Lauren. She would do the nursery rhymes. She would recite the nursery rhymes or sing the nursery rhymes to Lauren, which I wasn't very big on nursery rhymes. To me, they were just so old-fashioned, that I didn't do that much. But she did that with Lauren, and she was just delighted by Lauren. Lauren loved going down there and helping Fern. Lauren understood that Fern couldn't see, and Lauren would help. Lauren would be her eyes. She would go down there and help her be her eyes, and it was really sweet. And one day, Fern was sitting outside in a little miniature picnic table out on the little patio out there, and Lauren came along, and Lauren's like 3 years old, right? And she noticed that there was a black widow spider with the web right underneath the picnic table, right not far from Fern's knee, sitting there. And so Lauren saved the day, saved her life maybe. And Fern was forever grateful for that. And I felt real bad for Fern because her husband, I think he left her because she became blind. How sad is that? And he would come visit, and he looked like he was about 50, I guess, Anyway, he would come visit her every couple of weeks, I guess, maybe once a month, something like that. He would come out and visit her, and he would bring his girlfriend, who was a lot younger and pretty and everything. But that was just cruel. I think that was just so cruel to have to bring his girlfriend with him, and that he abandoned her like that, and it was just sick. Anyway, she stayed for a little while, I don't remember how long, and then she moved away. And then we took over that studio apartment. Bob used it as a stained glass, for his stained glass. And we were able to put a few things down there for storage, and that gave us a second bathroom, which came in handy sometimes. So that was good. I think we might have paid like an extra $50 a month to get that. So our landlords were good to us, And Bob he went to school for 2 years to the respiratory college, and then he became a a certified licensed respiratory therapist. Um, I got a job in the Chula Vista Community Hospital. I gotta say though, one thing happened when he was in school that bothered me quite a bit was that there was going to be some kind of convention, seminar somewhere uh, in Northern California. I mean, we were in the very southern part of California, so it was up a ways, it was going to be a trip. And he wanted to go to this thing over the weekend. And he asked me if it was okay with me if he went with 4 women that were in his class, 4 young ladies that were in his class, and he wanted to go and spend the weekend with them. And I said, and where are you going to stay? And he said, well, one of them knows a friend who has an apartment, so we'll all be able to stay at her apartment. I'm like, yeah. So I'm going to send my husband up there to stay with 5 young ladies all weekend. Heck no. What's wrong with you? So anyway, he got a job at the hospital right after he graduated, and I helped him somewhat with his school, because he had homework and he had to memorize a lot of stuff. It wasn't easy. And he had a little trouble with algebra, even though I wasn't that good with algebra. I helped him a little bit with all that. And I did want to mention again about Shirley Venden, who was like my surrogate mom. I appointed her as that. I loved her so much. I did want to say that I forgot that Leonard, her husband, he was a pastor. He was a retired pastor. And Shirley was an excellent vegetarian cook. I mean, she had a cookbook. I still have it. And so, yeah, she made the best vegetarian meals ever. So Bob's family came to visit us once when the twins were little. And they even brought the grandfather and the step-grandmom from New Jersey, but they had moved to Las Vegas. First the grandfather and the step-grandmom, we called her Sylvia. They moved to Las Vegas, and then soon after, Bob's parents and brothers moved to Las Vegas also. Anyway, they came to visit us. I remember the grandfather saying, Bobby, why you moved to the end of the earth? We were way out there. So that was real sweet that they could see the twins and all. Now, my friend Leanne, she told me about there was a preschool, the public school in Hamul, elementary school. They had a preschool going on there, and it was it was really cheap. It was like $20 for the whole term or something, and I wouldn't have even have known anything about it. I was so out of the loop. All I knew was the church stuff, anything involved with the church. Otherwise, I didn't know anything that was going on. We didn't get any newspaper or any kind of local news like that. We didn't go to the community center or the cafe where everybody hung out. All we did was go to church. So Leanne told me there was this preschool, and she had her little girl enrolled, and so it was a parent participation, which was really cool. That everybody who enrolled their kids had to participate and be there one day out of the week, and be the teacher's helper one day out of the week. So there was several of us. We would take turns, and we would take turns carpooling, and I would bring the twins in their little stroller and help out with the preschool once a week. It was half a day. It was mornings, And that was really great. It was really, really great. I mean, Lauren enjoyed it, learned a lot, made friends. It was awesome, wonderful. Thank God for Leanne. She was my connection to the outside world. She kept my life in balance. If it wasn't for Leanne, all I would know was the church and nothing else. And Leanne, you know, she was good with both, and just she was my angel when I was out there. Um, so in our church, I had mentioned that the church out there in Delzura, we were starting to go there more. Pastor was old and boring, and the pastor from El Cajon Church, the one who was he had a big beard. He climbed Mount Everest. He was pretty cool, and he would come out to Delzura Church as a guest speaker quite often, and we would go to El Cajon a lot. We liked him, and I told you about all these other young couples like us who were coming to visit Delzura Church. So Pastor Schultz, he told us, he said, if you can get these young couples with kids to keep coming and commit, join the church, join Delzura Church, then the conference, who was the government above all the churches, the conference will will start focusing on Delzura Church when they see it growing with new young members and with kids and all. They'll see that the church is growing, it's not dying, and they will start paying more attention. So Bob and I talked to all these couples that were coming to visit on and off, and asked them to let's do this. Let's, you all like it here, let's come join the church, move your membership, and we'll put a little pressure on the conference, and maybe they'll send us a better pastor. And it happened. So our pastor, and he was a sweetheart, Pastor Deal and his wife, but they retired. And the conference sent us a new pastor. And this guy was super cool. He was from Turkey, and he was a former Muslim, became Christian. And did he have a story? He was in the Turkish mafia. He was actually, and I'm saying this because I'm sure he's gone now. If he's not gone now, he's like in his 90s, at 100, maybe close to 100 by now, so it doesn't matter. But he was a hitman for the mafia in Turkey. And he had to flee the country, to avoid going to prison. So he came here, and he got a job as an electrician. And he was working up on the line, and he got electrocuted. He told the story about how he was like stuck on the wire, hanging from the wire. He got electrocuted. And it was like he died, or he could have died. But anyway, that's when he gave his life to Christ. He just felt like God saved him, gave him another chance. This is his second chance at life, and God's given him a chance, and he dedicated his life to Christ, became a Seventh-day Adventist pastor. Now, he was a pretty cool guy. Pastor Ben. Everybody liked him. And he was maybe, I guess he was 50. He was probably in his 50s, early 50s maybe. And he was married, but strangely, his wife never moved down here. His wife really didn't want to be part of our church. She used to just come down and visit occasionally. I mean, a couple times a year. It was very rare. So they became separated. So we enjoyed church a lot with all these other young couples, We had potluck once a month, vegetarian. Uh, we went on hikes almost every Sabbath, Saturday after church. If we didn't have potluck, we might eat at somebody's house, and we all like to go on hikes. We would hike up the mountains on Saturday, Sabbath afternoon because we believed that that was a good time to dedicate to enjoying nature, being close to creation, and remembering our Creator God. And on Saturday nights, we would hang out with these people lots of times. And at somebody's house, we would go to somebody's house and we would play games. The kids would all play. Sometimes we would put on rent a Disney movie for the kids, and it was all good. We enjoyed each other's company. We had a lot of good times. We all became good, close friends. It was awesome. So I guess I'm gonna hold it off right now, and next time I'm gonna get into more when the twins kind of become toddlers. Thanks for watching. I love you all. It means a lot to me, the ones that have subscribed and care enough to really follow my story. I really appreciate that. God bless.